Imagine it's a new school year about to start and you have all of your ducks in a row for the new school year, only to be called into your admin's office and voluntold there has been a change to the master schedule and you now have a brand new to you prep to take on this school year. You have mere days left before you are face to face with a group of teenagers who can practically smell your inadequacy. How do you approach taking on a brand new course when it's thrown at you last minute and you have no time to prep? That is what today's podcast episode is all about. Let's dive in.
This is Secondary Science Simplified, a podcast for secondary science teachers who want to engage their students and simplify their lives. I'm Rebecca Joyner from It's Not Rocket Science. As a high school science teacher turned curriculum writer, I am passionate about helping other science teachers love their jobs, serve their students, and do it all in only 40 hours a week. Are you ready to rock the time you spend in your classroom and actually have a life outside of it? You are in the right place, teacher friend. Let's get to today's episode.
I'm going to be honest, y'all. I'm going to make this episode short but impactful so you get a lot of bang for your buck, because if you are listening to this, you most likely have a new prep thrown on your plate and you don't have time to hear me gabbing right now if you're trying to tackle this new last minute prep. So I'm going to hit you with 5 tips and then practical takeaways so you can run with it and get started prepping for this new course. First, take a deep breath. In for 5, out for 5. If you need to do that 3 to 5 times, go ahead and do it while I'm telling you these next 4 tips, okay? The second thing I want you to do, and this is a lot easier said than done, is you need to accept the reality that this is not going to be an A+ year for this course. If you are a perfectionist, if you are an Enneagram 1 and believe there's a right way to do everything, if you are really passionate about your curriculum design and your lesson plans, if you are very passionate about organization and planning and knowing what's going to be happening 3 months from now, this is not going to work for you this year. Okay, this is not going to be your year. You can only do so much. You are a human being with real limitations in your humanity, in your time, in your energy, in what you can physically do with a last minute project, like this thrown on your plate. Again, and it's a last minute project that has an audience watching you every day show up and tend to the project and make progress on it in terms of teaching this course. And so you're going to have to hold this course more loosely than you've ever held a course before. Again, especially if you're a really type A, care about organization type of person. You can only do so much. You may be day to day for this course. And I recommend being honest with students about this. When I was given AP Bio, it was not that last minute. I found out early June. And then I had till August. So I had about 2 months and they sent me to APSI. But I still said day one in that AP course, especially because a lot of these students I'd already taught 2 to 3 times in other science courses. They knew my standard. They knew how I ran my course. I said, y'all, this isn't going to be like how it normally is in Miss Joyner's class. I can't tell you when the Unit 1 test is going to be. I don't even know because I haven't even written it yet. I'm going to be day to day. I'm going to be studying and learning this alongside of you. So buckle up for the ride, okay? I think being honest with them, especially if you know these students and you've had them before, there's going to be more grace there. It's going to work better. And you're just going to kind of clear the air of like, I was thrown this last minute. You can say, I'm excited if you are, but just say, it's going to be different from my other courses, and that's okay. And this is not going to be my A+ year. Every year after this that I teach this, I will get better at teaching it. But the first year is going to be my worst year teaching it, and that is okay. I think when you kind of just go ahead and say that to yourself, and maybe even directly to your students, like I did with my AP Bio students, it just relieves this pressure to perform in a way that there's no possible way you're going to be able to perform the first time you're teaching a new prep, and especially if it's last minute. So there's freedom in just kind of admitting that and accepting your current circumstances. Then my third tip is to take some action here and negotiate. I understand that you most likely can't say no when a last minute course is thrown on your plate, but you can acknowledge that that is a huge request to be made last minute. And thus, there should be some compromise here. There should be room for negotiation. Especially as a science teacher, it's not like they can throw a last minute chemistry class on a math teacher. It's not like they can throw a last minute anatomy class on an English teacher. These are very hard courses that we teach that other teachers and other disciplines could not take on. There's probably very few people that they could ask. So you have some negotiating power here. You need to use it. If they are going to give you zero prep time for this, they need to be prepared to support you. They will say they have no money, and that is a lie. There is always money. Always. I'm telling you this as a former private school teacher and a former public school teacher. There's always money. It's all about rearranging the monies, okay? And so you have negotiating power here. Now, here are the things I want you to ask for. 3 things at an absolute minimum that cost $0 that you need to be demanding when you're thrown into this situation. 1, access to the former teacher of this subject's pacing guide, scope and sequence, and/or syllabus. If someone else used to teach this course, they need to give you that information. Hopefully, if your school is like previous schools that I've taught in, at the end of the year when you check out, that's information that you've submitted to the shared drive. So someone has that somewhere. You need to get access to that. If this is a brand new course that's never been taught at your school, first of all, why are we adding brand new courses last minute? That feels insane and unnecessary. So I think that would be very unlikely to happen last minute, a brand new course. But if it is, they need to have provided you some resources from a teacher in a different school or in your district, whatever, that has taught this. Second, there needs to be a list of standards or performance expectations or guidelines for this course. Again, if you're at a small private school or a tiny public school or something like that, they can reach out to someone at the district level and they can get this information for you if they do not have it for you, or if it's an elective where there's no standards. We need some sort of list from them of what they're expecting so you can know what's the bare minimum I need to do. And third, any curricular resources, textbooks, equipment, lab kits, etc. that may exist from the former teacher that you can work with need to be passed along to you. Okay, this is the bare minimum things. Pacing guide or syllabus, performance expectations or standards, curricular resources or kits or anything. That is what should be given to you. Again, it's very unlikely to get a brand new prep that no one's ever taught at your school last minute. Most likely it's someone left the school and so things are rearranged and so now you're getting something that someone else already taught. You should be able to access those things. On top of that, you need to also negotiate for other things. They should be purchasing curriculum for you. If there are no curricular resources that they pass on, they should be buying something for you, period. This is a $300 to $400 ask. That is a large number for an individual teacher on a teacher salary. That is not a large number for a school, especially a public school with tax dollar budgets. They can purchase a curriculum for you. Other things they can do if they're not going to do that or they say they can't, lab kits. That was something I asked for when I taught AP biology. I was like, I don't even know where to begin teaching these things. They got me 2 lab kits. It wasn't a lab kit for every lab, but I at least had 1 lab per semester I knew I was going to be able to crush and have a ton of support for and do really, really well, like the AP bio way, because I had these lab kits. You can ask for an extra prep period. That is something I talked about in a previous episode with Brennan from Stoic Dex who came on. And we talked about all of the different preps he's had over his 25-year teaching career. I think it was 18 and 25 years. And some of the years he got an extra prep period because it was like he needed it to take on and have more capacity to be lesson planning for these brand new courses. If they can't do that because of the master schedule, and I know one of my best friends is a school counselor, high school counselor. I know that you can't even talk about the master schedule. It's like, that is like their baby in the counseling office. And they're like, this is an algorithm and a thing we've worked on for years. It cannot be moved. Okay, I get that. Finding an extra prep period can be impossible. But there is absolutely no reason why you need any extra duties if you're taking on a new prep. They can take away your lunch duty. They can take away your car line duty or your bus line duty. They can take away your requirement to sell tickets every other football game during football season. Like there are other responsibilities they can take off your plate so that you have more capacity to work on this brand new prep. So negotiate, please. If you need help advocating for yourself, episode 235 is for you. It is how to advocate for yourself with admin. Please, please, please do it. Okay, so we're taking a deep breath. We're accepting the reality of our circumstances and kind of lowering the bar of expectations. We're negotiating. And now tips 4 and 5. These are different based on if you're teaching like a more traditional main course versus an elective course. So number 4, if you're teaching a main course, like a bio, a chemistry, a physical science, like courses that just are like foundational in science, do not reinvent the wheel. There are so many curricula out there. Invest in one and use it exactly as written. Even if that goes against your DNA because you love to write every single thing you do, or it just feels wrong. Let me remind you that being a teacher is not the same thing as being a curriculum designer. Curriculum design is not the same thing as lesson planning. Those are totally different things. This does not make you less than as a teacher if you're using a curriculum that someone else wrote. There's no reason for you to be reinventing the wheel if you teach one of these preps. You can go on TBT right now and there's probably 8 different biology curriculums. Obviously, I think the best one is It's Not Rocket Science. If you're teaching biology, chemistry, physical science, anatomy, like I'm your girl, okay? I got you. I wrote these courses for the teacher who has 3 or more preps and has thrown a new one and doesn't know where to begin, or for the biology teacher who now has a section of chemistry for the first time. Like, I've got you, but even if you don't want to got me back, like there are other ones out there. Those are courses you should not be writing curriculum for, period. This is a survival year. Do what you need to do to survive. Now, my 5th and final tip. Now, this is for if you're specifically teaching some sort of elective course, like an environmental science, an earth space, a forensics, kitchen chemistry or conceptual chemistry. I don't know. There's so many different things out there. A genetics elective, that kind of thing. Hold it loosely and have fun. I know this is hard to do, especially if you are anything like me in terms of personality. Type A, Enneagram 1, all of that jazz, okay? But try to have fun with it. Find a Facebook group of people who teach this elective. There's one out there for everybody. Some are better than others, but find a group or find someone else in a district surrounding you, in your district or a nearby district. See what they're up to, see what they're doing. Get yourself a used textbook to study from. Preferably, again, in your negotiation stage, if you're teaching a brand new elective course, they're going to hook you up with some sort of textbook and you can at least use the textbook resources, even though they're normally the worst because they're rarely written by actual people who actually have taught high school science, but it's better than nothing. So get a textbook that you can study, that you can pull resources from, even if it means you're buying just one from, usetextbooks.com or eBay, just to have something. And then DIY this as you go, y'all. Do it yourself 1 unit at a time. If you're teaching some obscure biochemistry elective course and there's no high school biochemistry curriculum out there you can purchase, you're going to have to write it yourself. Do it 1 unit at a time. Remember, back to step 2, we've already told our students we're probably going to be doing this. So hold it loosely, hold yourself loosely. It's an elective. Take the pressure off. If you write a test and everyone fails it because you didn't do a good job preparing them for it, or the test was too hard, or it didn't really align with your resources, that's okay. Curve it and make a note. You got to rewrite it next year. This is the kind of looseness I want you to hold this elective course with. And try to have fun. Do projects that are more open-ended that put the onus back on students so that you're not having to show up and perform every single day for a course that you know nothing about. So those are my recommendations for you, my 5 tips if you are thrown a prep last minute. My take-home challenge for you today is the second this podcast episode ends is to ask for help right now. Get into the negotiations, baby. Listen to episode 235, Advocating for Yourself with Admin, if you need a little pep talk before you do it, if you need help with phrasing how you're going to ask for things, but ask. You have the power here. You can get some support and you need some support. And if you want some support from me, if you've got questions, if you feel overwhelmed, and specifically, if you're in that biology, chemistry, anatomy, or physical science, those are one of the courses you were thrown, email me, y'all. I love discoursing with you. Send me your standards. Send me the expectations they gave you. I'll look at them and see how they align with my curriculum and let you know how it works or, what to do. I would love to help you. Okay. So feel free to reach out, Rebecca@itsnotrocketscienceclassroom.com. If you have not left a review for the podcast and you have a last minute prep thrown on your plate, love it if you would do it. But honestly, maybe you shouldn't. I shouldn't even ask you for it because you don't have time. Don't leave me a review. Maybe leave me a review this week if you don't have any last minute preps. You're teaching the same stuff you taught last year. You've got a little bit of wiggle room, a little bit more free time and capacity. You're the one who I want to leave a review this week, okay? And if you want to find links to any It's Not Rocket Science units or full year curricula, or especially that episode 235, you can find the show notes at itsnotrocketscienceclassroom.com/episode 248, and you'll find all of those links there.
All right, teacher friends, that wraps up today's episode. If you're looking for an easy way to start simplifying your life as a secondary science teacher, head to itsnotrocketscienceclassroom.com/challenge to grab your classroom reset challenge. And guess what? It's totally free. Thanks so much for tuning in, and I'll see you here next week. Until then, I'll be rooting for you, teacher friend.